So our good friend Joy-Ann Reid sat down with the leader and the founder of Here for the Kids group, which is a gun control group that's not essentially saying, they're saying they want to ban all of the guns. But before I break this video down, make sure you watch this video all the way until the end, because I have a special giveaway announcement.
That was President Biden today repeating his call to action. And while he was successful in passing real gun reform back in the 1990s, it feels futile in today's environment. Mass shooting after mass shooting after mass shooting. Nothing seems to change. So maybe it's time to rethink how we address the issue and try something radically new. My next guests are arguing to do just that. Joining me now is Saira Rao, president and co-founder of Here for the Kids, and Lake Bell, actor, screenwriter, director, and activist. Thank you both very much. And Saira, I am just going to give you the floor and let you explain to me your radical idea for what we can actually do about this nonsense.
It's actually not that radical, Joy. You know, what I would argue is radical is that we have grown accustomed to dropping our kids off at school and not knowing if they're going to come back alive. Going to the grocery store and not knowing if we're going to get assassinated. Going to the mall and getting murdered. That's radical. What we are proposing is banning guns and buying them back. That's sensible.
No, actually, it's just stupid. You see, the only people who would actually turn in their guns are not the people who were worried about having guns. Criminals are not turning their guns in. Hell, they aren't supposed to even have them in the first place, and they still do. So you'd still have to worry about all of the things you just talked about. But now, even more so, you've made it worse because now you've given up the only thing you have to use for your defense against the criminals who didn't turn in the guns that you want them to turn in. So your plan is not sensible. It's stupid. And not only is it stupid, it's unconstitutional as hell.
Guns are the #1 killer of kids in America. Sit with that. Sit with that. Guns are the #1 killer of children in America. And folks are saying it's radical to ban guns. No, it's actually radical that we've decided to live with this. Uvalde? My goodness, what has happened since Uvalde? Mass shooting after mass shooting after mass shooting. Enough. Bulletproof backpacks? That's radical. What's sensible? Ban guns and buy them back, and that's what Here for the Kids is doing.
Guns are not the #1 killer of kids in this country. I did a whole video about this when Joe Biden said this almost a year ago. They're quoting a study that was conducted by the CDC, and the thing they're not telling you is this. CDC study that he's referring to defines children as persons 1 to 19 years old. Last I checked, an 18 and a 19-year-old were considered adults, not children. What he's also not telling you is that the vast majority of kids are killed by guns in smaller day-to-day incidents, not mass or school shootings. 65% of those so-called children's deaths are homicides, and 35% are suicides. So if most of these homicides are not from mass shootings, this means they're from inner city gang violence. They like to leave out those parts because it tells a completely different story and doesn't make it seem so crazy as it is when they say, oh, it's the #1 killer of kids in the country, because it's not true.
We know that Australia did that and you know, after one mass shooting, but they don't have a thing called the Second Amendment. And I'm just going to put it up on screen. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of a people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And we know that that was passed because of fear of rebellions, right? Fear of rebellions, and that the regulated part, well-regulated, implies the government can regulate arms. But the Constitution says people have a right to have them. How can you ban something that's in the Constitution as something people have a right to have?
Regulated in the Second Amendment does not mean government control. It means well-functioning. I recently did a response to John Stewart, who tried to make the same argument. In the late 18th century, when the Second Amendment was written, well-regulated did not mean controlled or supervised by the government. It meant well-functioning. Well-regulated in the 18th century tended to be something like well-organized, well-armed, well-disciplined, says Roosevelt. It didn't mean regulation in the sense that we use it now, in that it's not about the regulatory state. There's been nuance there. It means the militia was in effective shape to fight. In other words, it didn't mean the state was controlling the militia in a certain way, but rather that the militia was prepared to do its duty. Keep in mind, that's coming from a constitutional expert who won a Pulitzer Prize for history.
So the Second Amendment, in reality, actually, fear of rebellion by whom? By enslaved people. That's why we have the Second Amendment.
And people in Massachusetts, because there were 2 rebellions by white folks as well. So
Fine,
rebellion,
sure,
period.
sure.
Yeah.
But read The Second by Carol Anderson. It's a beautiful book. We have the Second Amendment because of white supremacy and anti-blackness. Give slave owners the right to massacre their enslaved people. So we have it, white supremacy, anti-blackness, proliferation of guns since 1791 when it was ratified. White people buy guns en masse when they get super scared by people who look like you and me. These are facts. Google it. Obama, Ferguson, George Floyd, 9/11, COVID-19. That's part 2. Number 3, guns are now the #1 killer of kids in America, including white kids. 1 + 2 + 3 = 4. White supremacy is now the #1 killer of all kids in America, including white kids. I'm ready to get rid of the Second Amendment. And I think it's wild that people would prefer to protect an amendment, a racist amendment from 1791, over their own children.
Oh, how I love the smell of the soft bigotry of lowered expectations in the morning. So, black people don't buy guns. Guess I didn't get that memo. And I guess he didn't get that memo either.
I frankly believe that every Negro in the country should learn judo and karate.
How about carrying a weapon?
If it's legal for a man to carry or have in his possession a rifle or a shotgun, especially faced with what Negroes in this country are confronted with, they should have it. They shouldn't go out attacking someone with it, but in the face of the brutality that our people encounter, it's not unjust to teach a Negro to have a shotgun or a rifle in his house.
And lest we forget, black people are the fastest growing group of gun owners in the US. The irony is the Second Amendment isn't what prevented black people from owning guns. It was the gun control laws. The same gun control laws you're trying to push now. Because of the language of the Second Amendment, I, as a black man, have more guns than I do food. And you're the only one trying to take that right away from me. So, miss me with the whole, the Second Amendment is racist, so we must do away with it, because I'm not buying it.
The United States has more guns than any country in the world per 100,000 residents, than any country. Next closest is Chile, then Israel, Canada. You can go down the list. And we have more mass shootings than literally anyone. Yemen is at a very distant second. You signed on to this idea, Lake. Why? And what do you think can pragmatically be done?
Yeah, I like that you said pragmatic, because I do feel like there's some logic involved here. There seems to be a disconnect for what can we do? What can we do? Well, clearly, to name something like a gun ban feels so, it feels like a tall order, but we're in tall order territory, because my kids are watching me and they're like, what are you doing? Like, what can we do? I'm scared, and it's not just a select group of people. It's all people. I mean, my friends from other countries are like, people are telling me I shouldn't travel to your country right now because there's such an extraordinary gun violence problem. So there just seems to be like a disconnect that the idea, just as a parent, I'm here representing parents, who have children. I mean, but you don't have to be, I just feel like it's a big swing, sure. But it's like, that's where we are. That's logic.
This is why you have to stop listening to a lot of these celebrities, because this woman rambled and babbled and said absolutely nothing, except for my kids are scared, so ban all the guns. Not to mention Joy-Ann Reid being surprised that some parents who lost their kids at the Uvalde shooting didn't want to ban guns is baffling to me, because they don't look at the guns the same way you do. You look at the gun as if it's a human being who actually did the killings. They look at the gun as merely the tool used by the killer to kill their kids. And they understand that getting rid of guns isn't going to make them any safer. People are allowed to have a duality of thought process when it comes to certain events. Some people are going to go here, some people are going to go there. The fact that you're so shocked and surprised that somebody who had a kid actually die in a shooting isn't willing to just give up their 2A rights as a result of it is because the only thing you know how to do is feel. There is no logic. There is no reasoning. It's just I feel. And because I feel, you should do what I want. This is nothing more than political solipsism.
June 5th, you all are going to be gathering in Denver. What's going to happen?
June 5th, 5 a.m., 25,000 white women, state capital, Denver, Colorado, demanding Democratic Governor Jared Polis sign an executive order, buy guns and ban guns and buy them back. Ban guns and buy them back.
And why you said specifically white women?
Because white women traditionally have the most power in this country. That's why marketers are like white women between the ages of 25 and 55, right? That's what advertisers go after. And white women have the most privilege in terms of the least likely to be harmed by police. 25,000 numbers. Let's get a ton of them. They will get him to do it. They will get him to do it. We know that. If history is any guide, they will get him to do it.
And Lake, what do you want the governor to do after this protest?
As the white woman in the room, I'll say that, I concur. I stand by whatever, everything that Syra just said. I recognize we white women have, we wield an extraordinary amount of privilege and immunity when it comes to sitting in on the front lines and doing that. And oftentimes we are the group of people who don't show up. I'm not saying all, because we have an extraordinary group of thousands of women who are involved in this movement, but it is a demographic that traditionally doesn't have to show up, And so I'm urging all of my friends, I have people flying in from all parts of the country to be there because it's that important.
I don't even have it in me to respond to this. I just don't. I don't. And now for the giveaway. Today's giveaway is sponsored by Surefire. Surefire sent me these 3 lights to give to 3 people who are part of my YouTube membership. YouTube memberships let you support what we do here regarding the Second Amendment, while also giving you access to different perks and benefits. Our membership has 3 levels: the Pew Pew Life, the Militia, and of course, the Amosexuals. Each level comes with its own unique perks and benefits. However, what I'll be doing unofficially is frequent giveaways to those members. So, from the Pew Pew Life group this month, this $89.99 Surefire G2X Pro is going to SteelyFan77. And to the Militia group, this $329 Surefire Micro Scout Light Pro is going to NeoBear. And then finally, my favorite, and to my nasty Amosexuals, this $399 Surefire Turbo Scout Light Pro with 100,000 candelas is going to Jackson Strain. So, congratulations to those 3 members, and thank you Surefire for supporting not only the channel, but the channel members. If you want to learn more about my YouTube membership, I put a link in the description section of this video, or on some devices, you could just simply click the join button that's right next to the subscription button. Like I said, giveaways are not an official perk of memberships, but I personally will be doing these giveaways frequently on my own for my members. Guns aren't political. That's why I need your help getting this message to spread on YouTube by clicking the thumbs up button, leaving a comment to let me know what you think of the video, then subscribing to the channel. But most importantly, click that bell symbol. For products featured in this video, click the links in the description.